2311 Racing, the team co-owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. They've been in this dispute with NASCAR over the charter negotiations. 13 of the 15 teams have signed. Them and Front Row Motorsports are the only two who haven't signed. And it impacted Bubba Wallace's contract negotiations. Well, those negotiations are no longer happening because they have been concluded. Bubba Wallace has extended with 2311 Racing on a multi-year extension. Here's what 2311 had to say on it. From day one, Bubba has been an integral part of 2311. We're excited to announce that he has signed a multi-year renewal and will continue to play a key role in helping 2311 grow and succeed. Hashtag forward together. So yes, Bubba Wallace, who was the first, well, technically, Ty Dillon was the first ever driver for 2311. Remember, he drove in that clash back in 2021. There's a trivia question for you. Who was the first ever NASCAR driver to drive for Michael Jordan? It was Ty Dillon. Anyways, back to the original point. Bubba Wallace was the first full-time driver that 2311 signed. Of course, that first year, 2021, the last year of the Gen 6 car. So growing pains happened that year, but Bubba Wallace did pick up a win at Talladega in the fall race. Then in 2022, Bubba Wallace missed the drive. Well, he missed both the playoffs, but with Kurt Busch's injury, Bubba Wallace ended up driving the 45 car to compete for the Owners' Championship for 2311. He won at Kansas that fall. He took them into the round of 12 in the Owners' Championship, along with a 10th place finish in the standings for the 45 car. In 2023, he made the drivers' playoffs for the first time, while the 23 missed the owners' playoffs. He still himself made the drivers' playoffs and had his career best result with a 10th place finish in the point standings. Of course, this year, a little bit of a disappointment, missing the playoffs, but the numbers have been almost slightly better than the last 2 years. There's still 8 races to go. He has the same amount of top 5s and top 10s as he had in 2023 and 2022. So he's on pace statistically to have a better year. His average finish is just a tick below where it was last year, a 16.3 versus the 15.9. And obviously missing the playoffs was a big hit, a massive disappointment for that team, especially as he pointed out when his teammate went and won the regular season championship. There's a lot of different views of how this is going down, how this is going to be viewed in terms of the driver implications itself, and then also the charter implications as well. Let's focus on the driver right now, Bubba Wallace. I mean, this is no shock whatsoever. He's been at 2311 since the beginning. Yesterday, we talked about Ty Norris departing Trackhouse. He had been at Trackhouse since the beginning, but Bubba Wallace was the original guy. He was the original driver who that 2311 decided to build around. He won their first ever race there. He competed for their first ever Owners' Championship. And yes, I will say this year has been a disappointment for 2311's 23 team. Obviously, the 45 has done everything right. They won the regular season championship. They're in the playoffs, still competing for a championship. But Bubba Wallace, there's no question he has to step it up next year. This year was a slump. This year was a step down. The numbers are a little bit better, but I'm still waiting for Bubba Wallace to have that breakout year. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean go out, win 9 races in the championship, but win multiple races in a season. Make it to the round of 8. Don't be on this playoff bubble. Bubba Wallace is a capable driver. He's won multiple Cup Series races. He's competed for Cup Series wins. He's good at a different variety of tracks. We saw him win the pole at the Southern 500. We know his great history at Kansas. We know his great history at the super speedways. So Bubba Wallace is a capable driver. The team is capable. The car is capable. So next year, yes, there's still 8 races left this year for him to potentially go win. But focusing on next year, I think the goal should be win a race to get into the playoffs rather than sitting on the bubble like you have the last 2 years. Still waiting for that breakout season, but in terms of a 2311 decision, it made sense. He knows the team. He knows everyone there. He's familiar with it. He's comfortable there. Yeah, it makes sense to have Bubba Wallace in the car. And he's a capable driver who's won races for him. So Bubba Wallace at 2311, no shocking news there. Makes sense. But then on the charter side of things, this is where the question comes up. As I said at the beginning of this video, 2311 is one of the two teams still fighting NASCAR in terms of the charter negotiations. We don't know how it's going to go. They're still fighting it out. Will NASCAR revoke the charters from these two teams, or will they fold and, give in to their demands in a sense? Well, I have no idea, because when Bubba Wallace was talking about his contract negotiations a few weeks ago, he said it would have been done already, but the charter negotiations kind of made it more difficult. Because without the charter negotiations, that means without a charter deal done for 2311, that means they're not getting money from NASCAR. They're not getting that revenue. They're not getting the bonuses and the extra incentives that they get with having a charter. They don't have that guaranteed spot in the field every week. So if their charters get revoked, if they have to go as open cars next year, that's a major financial hit, and therefore would impact the driver's salary, would impact the drivers. And when Bubba Wallace in a contract negotiation year, that's a massive hit on him. So the question is, did 2311 sign the charter deal? Did Bubba Wallace in 2311 just kind of negotiate around it and say, hey, if we sign a deal or we get a better deal, here's the way your contract goes. If it doesn't go our way, you're still on contract, but, there's a clause in there saying we're going to go this way. You're still on the team, just maybe less money, or, something in the contract changes. So I really don't know what it means for the charter negotiations, because 13 of the 15 have signed. 2311 in front row, they're the only two who haven't. But it impacted Bubba Wallace's negotiations into September, mid-September, and he's signed now. So what does that mean? What does it mean? Multi-year agreement, obviously very good for Bubba Wallace. It means he'll be at the team at least 2 years. So you've got a little bit of stress off of your shoulders for sure next year, but going down the road should be comfortable. So Bubba Wallace, 2311, it's a pair that's been there since the beginning. It makes sense. And as for the charter negotiations, if anything else comes up, I will let you know. But as for everything else NASCAR related, any other news, I'll let you know. We got Bristol this upcoming weekend, a cutoff race. I'll keep you updated on it.